September 11th, 2001. On September 11, 2001, the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 airliners and carried out suicide attacks against targets in the United States. 2 of the planes were flown into the towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. A 3rd plane hit the Pentagon just outside of Washington, D.C., and the 4th plane crashed in a field in Pennsylvania. Often referred to as 9/11, the attacks resulted in extensive death and destruction, triggering major U.S. initiatives to combat terrorism and defining the presidency of George W. Bush. Over 3,000 people were killed during the attacks in New York City and Washington, D.C., including more than 400 police officers and firefighters. On September 11, 2001 at 8:45 a.m. on a clear Tuesday morning, American Airlines 767, loaded with 20,000 gallons of jet fuel, crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. The impact left a gaping, burning hole near the 80th floor of the 110-story skyscraper, instantly killing hundreds of people and trapping hundreds more in higher floors. As the evacuation of the tower and its twin got underway, television cameras broadcasted live images of what initially appeared to be a freak accident. Then, 18 minutes after the first plane hit, a second 767 United Airlines Flight 175 appeared out of the sky, turned sharp toward the World Trade Center, and sliced into the South Tower near the 60th floor. The collision caused a massive explosion that showered burning debris over surrounding buildings and the streets below. America was under attack. September 11, 2001 was the deadliest day in history for New York City firefighters. 343 were killed. The attacks were Islamic terrorists from Saudi Arabia and several other Arab nations, partly financed by Saudi fugitive Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda's terrorist organization. They were allegedly acting in retaliation for America's support of Israel, its involvement in the Persian Gulf War, and its continued military presence in the Middle East. Some of the terrorists had lived in the United States for more than a year, had taken flying lessons at American commercial flight schools. Others had slipped into the country in the months before September 11th and acted as the muscle of the operation. The 19 terrorists easily smuggled box cutters and knives to security at the 3 East Coast airports and boarded our 4 flights bound from California, chosen because the planes were loaded with fuel for the long transcontinental journey. The terrorists hijacked the 4 planes and took their controls, transforming ordinary commuter jets into guided missiles. As millions watched the events unfolding in New York, American Airlines Flight 77 circled over downtown Washington, D.C., slammed into the west side of the Pentagon military headquarters at 9:45 a.m. Jet fuel from the 757 flight led to structural collapse of a portion of the giant concrete building. All told, 125 military personnel and civilians were killed in the Pentagon, along with 64 people aboard the airliner. Less than 15 minutes after terrorists struck the nerve center of the U.S. military, the horror in New York took a catastrophic turn for the worse when the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed in a massive cloud of dust and smoke. The structural steel of the skyscraper, built to withstand winds in excess of 200 miles per hour and a large conventional fire, could not withstand the tremendous heat generated by the burning jet fuel. At 10:30 a.m., the other World Trade Center tower collapsed. Close to 3,000 people died in the World Trade Center, including staggering 343 fighters and paramedics, 23 New York State police officers, and 37 Port Authority police officers who were struggling to complete an evacuation of the building. And to save the office workers trapped on the higher floors, only 6 people in the World Trade Center towers at the time of their collapse survived. Almost 10,000 were treated for injuries, many severe. Meanwhile, a 4 California-bound plane, United Flight 93, was hijacked about 30 minutes after leaving Newark International Airport in New Jersey. Because the plane had been delayed in taking all passengers on board, learned of the events in New York and Washington via cell phone and airphone calls to the ground. Knowing that the aircraft was not returning to an airport, the hijackers claimed a group of passengers and flight attendants planned an insurrection. One of the passengers, Thomas Burnett Jr., told his wife over the phone that, "I know we're all gonna die. There's 3 of us who are going to do something about it. I love you, honey." Another passenger, Todd Bimir, was heard saying, "Are you guys ready? Let's roll." Over an open line, Sandy Bradshaw, a flight attendant, called her husband and explained that she had slipped into a galley and was filling pitchers with boiling water. Her last words to him were, "Everyone's running to first class. Gotta go. Bye." The passengers fought the 4 hijackers and are suspected to have attacked the cockpit with a fire extinguisher. The plane then flipped over and sped towards the ground, upwards 500 miles per hour, crashing in a rural field in western Pennsylvania at 10:10 a.m. All 45 passengers were killed. Its destination is still not known, but theories include the White House, the U.S. Capitol, the Camp David presidential retreat in Maryland, or one of several nuclear power plants on the eastern seaboard. At 7 p.m., President George W. Bush, who had spent the day being shuttled around the country because of security concerns, returned to the White House. At 9 p.m., he delivered a televised address from the Oval Office declaring terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundations of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. In reference to the eventual U.S. military response, he declared, "We will make no distinction between the terrorists committing these acts and those who harbor them." The American-led international effort to destroy Osama bin Laden's terrorist network, based there in Afghanistan, began on October 7th. Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the September 11th attacks, remained at large until May 2nd, 2011, when he finally tracked down and killed by U.S. forces a hideout in Pakistan. In June 2011, President Barack Obama announced the beginning of large-scale troop withdrawals from Afghanistan, with a final withdrawal of U.S. forces scheduled for 2014. The September 11th attack was a major effect on the United States of America. But, as George Bush said, we will not fall. God bless America.